Welcome to Two Woke Bonnets, a podcast where we revisit the classic TV shows of our Gen X childhoods and see how well they hold up today. With your hosts, Carol and Joey.
Hello and welcome back to the Prairie. This is Carol.
This is Joey. I don't have a prairie behind me today, but I do have a nightcap on.
Your nightcap on.
Because this episode was very nightcap-alicious. Can we just
Yes,
say?
it was. It was indeed. I did not get bingo on this one. I came very close.
I got bingo on this one. But I will double check with you at the end to see if you feel it's a justified bingo.
I know, because I got bingo for the one we do next, but
and I couldn't get it on the card that came up for me.
With some cheating. Okay, so this episode is Circus Man. And we have a guest star.
Yeah, technically this is episode 19, because remember the pilot was a 0, the movie was a 0. But in Peacock Land, this is episode 20.
Yes.
And this is the famous, they switched the plague and Circus Man from the original airing.
Yeah. I don't know why.
Because then we get back-to-back messages, but even with the plague, we had a message.
Yeah, but this was kind of a message too. But anyway.
That's what I mean. What I mean. So, like, now we ended up with that, so.
Yeah, so Red Button shows up in the middle of the night. Can we say how sketchy this guy is?
Well, yeah. Let's talk about the fact that everything that he says, none of it's true.
None of it's true. None of it is. We all know this. I mean, we know he's sketch from the start.
Right.
He shows up in the middle of the night, supposedly scaring off a bobcat. Which, come on, the chickens weren't even.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Jack didn't do anything, and in the past, Jack is always alerted.
Yeah.
So
Jack
does he really know? Yeah.
Useless in this episode, but yes. So middle of the night, he shows up.
Don't talk about Jack being useless in this episode.
Well, he is the final. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Let's get to it.
So first of all, can we just talk about gunshot in the middle of the night? Pa comes running out in the first of what turns out to be man 90.
Yeah,
he's in a man 90. Now listen, previous episodes, he's been shirtless in bed with Caroline, but suddenly 90s have been introduced.
I actually think on those times when he's shirtless, he's going buff.
Well, at least I don't know because it's not
fine. Go sleep in the nude.
Not a winter episode. So it's not like all of a sudden he needs extra. And so both this episode and the next episode, because we record 2 episodes at a time, fourth wall break, sorry. He's in 90s, different 90s too, by the way. So evidently he is so rich that he can have 2 90s, because obviously if you read the books, Laura talks about the fact that she ends up having an everyday dress, and then she has her fancy Sunday dress, but somehow Pa has 2 90s. So anyway, moving on.
So he goes out there with did he pick up the gun?
Yeah, Pa goes out there with his gun, and they have this face off, and Red Buttons is totally in shadow for the first 5 minutes that he's talking. When he's like, don't shoot, he never comes forward into the light. So if we really wanted to have an edgier Little House of the Prairie, somebody could recut that and have that be very, very dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, just put demented circus music and it would work
Okay. And before we go any further, I should also mention that every Saturday night, my husband Matt and I, when we're home and don't have other activities going on, we watch Svengoolie and on MeTV. He bakes us a couple bowls of popcorn, drizzles butter on them. We eat them in bed like Pa and Ma. That's so connection. and then with the dog in between us, and we just watch it. That's kind of our Saturday night old people date. Last night was with Dirk Benedict, where Dirk Benedict goes to work for a snake scientist. Anyway, if you don't know that movie,
Oh, that was.
yeah,
Oh my
that's what I
God, I
said.
love that one.
So that was last night. So there's several circus scenes in that one as well. So I feel a little, and that one was a
Circused
more
out?
sinister circus. So I feel
Kind
like
of a
I'm a little,
misnomer.
yeah, yeah, because it
Kind of a
was a
misnomer though,
sideshow.
because there's no circus here. He's just kind of a traveling entertainer, more or
Well,
less.
yeah. So reality is, Pa, he says that there's a bobcat, which you started to say, and I cut you off. I apologize.
No,
He
that's fine.
he says there's a bobcat. Carolyn comes out. He's like, "Go back in the house." She's like, "Everything okay?" He's like, "Go back in the house." And then the guy says, "Hey, I saw a bobcat. I thought I should help my neighbor out as I'm randomly driving by. So I was shooting at it, but my intentions were better than my aim."
Yes. And so Pa naturally offers to let him stay
Right.
because
Because
strange man fully dressed with bow tie and clashing plaid in the middle of the night shoots a gun outside of your house.
admitting he's a circus,
Yeah,
a
you're gonna
small
ask
but
him to stay.
mighty circus. Yes.
So
Uh, so he lets him park. He lets him use his feed the
yeah.
horses, everything.
And the next day he's got his laundry already strung up on the laundry line. I'm like, good Lord, he just moved in.
And Ma goes out to the egg house and only finds one egg. And with his magical ways, he introduces 5 additional eggs.
Yeah, not that he didn't like steal them before.
Yeah.
You know.
So there we go. But the
Yeah,
girls
and
are fascinated. He does have
he
a
has a
talking raven.
chimpanzee and a crow, and
Yeah.
I'm like, that poor chimp.
Well, and the raven is named Mr. Poe.
Yeah.
And you
So
do definitely see the string on the raven's leg when it's hopping around.
yeah, and you
Um,
can obviously tell that's not a raven speaking.
right.
But
And then he's got this huge sign of this huge gorilla, and he finally rolls it up and it reveals a chimpanzee.
yeah,
It's not,
a little
it
cat.
doesn't say gorilla though. It says con gorilla. No
Yeah.
O, the O is in the con. And it is a con, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is a con that he
But it
says
is
it's
an
a
actual
gorilla.
chimp. But it is an
Well, at
actual
least
chimp.
it's an ape. If he had said it was an ape or a
Yeah.
monkey, that would have been different. But he
But
didn't say that.
either way,
The
he
girls are
is
fascinated.
the girls just immediately fall in love with him. And of course he's got this really hideous Irish brogue because he goes by O'Hara here and so naturally he's Irish, so we get the Irish stereotype here.
Yeah.
Um, even though it's completely fake.
First
Um,
hint, first hint that this is not going to go well, that this is not a
yeah,
good character. Because if
yeah.
he was Norwegian like Hanson, we'd know we could totally trust him. But
Then
because
he
he's
could like
Irish or Scottish, he's got to be, or English,
absolutely.
something's wrong with him.
Or English. Occasionally an Englishman will show up and they're always bastards too. So
Well, except for the one that blew up, sir. So yeah, yeah.
okay. So he naturally sticks around and the girls love him
Yeah.
and he doesn't leave. And I guess he's just like there for a little while. And then he is attacked, and I'm using air quotes here for those of you who are just listening, by his chimp. And
No, by a thief trying to steal his
trying to,
powder.
yeah,
But really it's him and the chimp jumping around in the
yeah,
little carriage.
yeah. But he has this magic powder that he's gonna drink, and it will cure his broken ribs. So let's head to town for a little bit because now we've got to establish that there are several medical emergencies in town as well. Lars has a headache that won't go away, and I personally think it's because Doc Baker won't stop screaming at him.
But even then, he's like, well, I took the medicine. And then we find out the medicine wasn't even from Doc Baker.
Yeah, it
It
was
was
from
from the
Harriet.
Olsons, mercantile.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who has and Harriet has appendicitis.
But which we find out because she's sniffling. Like,
Yeah, sniffling.
sorry, my
she's
brother
got
had appendicitis. I'm going to tell you right now, it
yeah.
was not the sniffles that
It's not
identified
the
the
sniffles.
appendicitis.
It's crippling pain.
Yeah.
So so naturally, the girls. Well, O'Hara goes to the mercantile and tells Harriet about.
Well,
Well,
no,
he's
no.
like
The girls tell Hanson
about the magic powder.
because Hanson was in the mercantile
Aha. Yeah,
trying to
you
get
should
a
take some of
refund.
Mr. O'Hara's magic powder.
Yeah.
And he does, and his headache goes away. But I still think that's because Doc Baker was screaming at him, and he just stayed away from Doc Baker for a couple of hours.
Also, it's the birth of Alka-Seltzer, and anybody who's had Alka-Seltzer, once you burp,
Yep.
you feel better,
Yeah.
even if it's not what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
Just
Incidentally,
naturally.
Doc Baker is just very angry this entire episode. I think he just yells at everybody.
I really felt like we were going to have like a shoot 'em up showdown, like in Gunsmoke or
He's,
Bonanza. There was one point where he put his hands on his hips, and I was
there's
just
just
like,
he's gonna gun this guy down in the street.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, and then O'Hara goes to the mercantile and uh
sorry, now I have that
Harriet's
theme in my head. No, 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 no. No, no,
Harriet
no,
tells him
no.
about the medicine she has, and then he tells her, "Oh no, my miracle powder will do you right."
And the way he goes to her heart is he buys striped candy and then 3 yards of ribbon, which one
Hmm.
thing I did love was she did the nose to arm method, which is how when I was taught to sew by a seamstress who did Shakespeare level costuming. That's exactly, she said nobody should be doing more than
Yeah,
more than your arm to your nose full of thread before you sew. And that's how she was measuring the yard. So I thought that was interesting. But he
yeah,
talks
right up
about
to her
how
snotty
beautiful
nose.
that hair ribbon is. And it's as wide as all get out. Like,
Yeah,
it's not going to make cute little ribbons like
no,
that.
that
It's
was
going to
made for
make these
giant bows.
like goes a Nelly
And
head. And
yeah,
never do we see him. I guess it's my fault because he was staying at the Ingalls house. I assume that he got that ribbon for the Ingalls girls,
that's what I thought, but we
but you
don't ever
never
see it.
see it given, worn, anything.
Anything.
Also, she only had this much left on the spool and she wouldn't give it to him. Like it wasn't even sellable at that point. And then he picks up an anvil to
Yeah,
prove that his
because
ribs were
but
no longer broken.
I heard you broke ribs. And oh well, it's me miracle powder, and so now she will do nothing but the miracle powder. We
Right.
need a square on our bingo cards that says the town loses its collective mind, because this is the town
Yes,
losing its
I will
collective
go in and
mind.
add that because I can add options and it will just
Yeah,
keep on cycling.
this is
So,
just the town losing its collective mind. It's like, oh, this fizzy stuff helped a headache. Obviously, it will help with my everything else.
yeah.
So
So,
yeah,
yeah.
so she won't
So,
have the operation. She just wants his magic powders, and Doc Baker just loses his shit.
well, let's remember which the one thing that was annoying in this episode was think about some of the other episodes when he was courting and he was done wrong, which was only 2 episodes, 3 episodes before,
Yeah,
where Charles could not let go of the fact that he was a veterinarian made to be a doctor. And when Harriet's protesting this operation, she never says, well, I don't want a veterinarian, working on me or
incidentally,
anything like that.
the Olsons are wealthy. She probably would have gone to Mankato or Minneapolis for the operation.
Right. So anyway, well, and not for nothing, she really, if this was true to life, she couldn't have gone to Mankato because appendectomies weren't even started until 1885, and Laura is about 10 in
Curious.
this episode, so that would have made it about 1877. So
Yeah,
the surgery of appendectomies didn't even exist at
yeah.
this
I was
point, but let's
curious.
not get
When
into
he
that.
said she had appendicitis, I'm like, you sure that? Do you know about that?
Yeah, like this is
So
where it gets a little hinky on the whole thing. But anyway.
yeah. But O'Hara goes in and convinces her to have the operation by saying that, oh, the queens of England and all of these great ladies have had this.
And
And
that also, Queen Victoria did not have the surgery. Her son did. But
yes,
again, it would have been after 1885, so you wouldn't have known that. And Queen Elmira of Italy doesn't exist.
doesn't yeah, I figured he was making it all up.
Yeah. So again,
So
more Blarney, more
yeah.
Blarney.
So she's, oh well, if if queens do it, I'll do it. And of course, for some strange reason, the entire town's waiting outside the mercantile to see if she's okay. Are they
Yeah,
all just
because she's
hoping she
such a
dies?
beloved character of
Yes.
the town.
Are they all
Maybe they're
just hoping
hoping
she
that
dies?
if she dies, Nels will just let everything in the store go for free. Like, why? Why?
But yeah, everyone's waiting around, and Doc Baker comes out. Oh, she's fine. She'll be back on her feet in a couple of weeks, and and
No
then
thanks to her. She was
no,
on the wings of death, Charles.
yes,
Wings of death.
yes,
Oh.
she was very close to dying before she agreed to the operation. And then
Well, and so while talking about the crowd out front, this is one of the times where certain things anachronistically will annoy you. So you'll see a lot of the townspeople standing around. Most of them have suspenders on, but some have belts and some have belt loops. Again, belt loops didn't exist till 1922.
yeah,
So this is a very progressive town.
very progressive.
They
So
are literally, if it's 1877, they're literally like 50 years ahead of time on the belt loop thing. But anyway, that's just one of
but
those things that once you know that, it's just gonna
you just
you're gonna
notice
keep
it
seeing
all
it.
the time. You notice it
Yeah,
all the time.
yeah,
I noticed that Ma never gets any brown eggs. And I'm
yeah.
like, wouldn't she have a few chickens that lay brown eggs? They all
Well,
wouldn't be
because
the
didn't we talk about whether it was brown or white, how
yeah,
much she
and
was
then she
gonna get
never has
for it?
brown
But
ever again. She never has
yeah,
brown ever again. It's all just they just go
she
bought,
killed those
because
chickens. Anyone who gave the brown eggs because she didn't get as much
she ate
money
those
for them.
chickens because they were costing her money. Anyway,
Those are the ones that went into the pot, man.
yeah.
Brown chicken at your butt. We'll talk about chickens and what comes out their butts next episode.
So
So
so anyway, Laura goes to the mercantile with Jack, and then Jack is hit
the one
by
time Jack gets off the stupid leash.
the
Poor
one time,
Jack.
the one
Justice for
time.
Jack.
And whose cat was that? Can we put the cat on missing on townsfolk that go missing? 'Cause I don't ever
Yeah,
see
like
that
how does a
cat
cat just appear out there, never to be
and then
seen
just
again?
disappear again, never to be seen again. And Jack gets, well, we don't know what happens to him. It's not, he gets hit in some fashion by a wagon, but
Right.
there's
And
no
everybody
broken
just stands
bones,
around. Yeah.
and there's no like he's scraped up, but he's not like there's no obvious wounds. Doc Baker's on the scene,
But
veterinarian.
he's
He's
a
like,
like, shouldn't he know this better? He somehow knows Harriet has appendicitis without all the knowledge, but he doesn't know what's wrong
can't
with the
figure out
dog,
what's wrong with Jack after he gets
which
hit
is
by
what
a
he went to
wagon.
school for.
It
Sorry.
maybe be the wagon.
If
The
you're
wagon
listening
had
on
been the
audio, I
problem
am
all
so
along.
sorry. I will try to use gentle parenting going forward, but that was ridiculous.
But hey, this is Doc Baker was doing that whole episode, just raging at people. Damn medicine, Lars.
I blame Doc Baker for my volume today. I apologize. Yeah. So that was ridiculous.
Yeah,
Um,
and
but
of course,
also like this is Jack. Jack who got swept down the river
yes,
and survived, but he doesn't and figured out how to do it, but he doesn't have enough wherewithal to
they
figure
stay away
out
from the damn wagon.
to see the damn wagon over the cat when he was told to stay put. And yet when coyotes and stuff are coming and Pa tells him to stay, he
He
stays.
absolutely stays.
And Laura never said stay. She like she never gave him a command. She gave him
No,
sentences,
no,
which is
she did. No, she did. She did. She actually said, "You stay
she's
here
like,
while I go
be
in."
here, you be
Yeah,
here. She didn't say stay or like you would do with your dog. But anyway,
yeah. But
that's just
anyway, he gets hurt in some fashion that Doc Baker can't cure, apparently. And it's all just going to be, well, he'll survive if he survives type thing. And Laura,
well, yeah. And Pa sent O'Hara away
Yeah, because
But he allowed him to go without saying goodbye to the girls or admitting that he was
that he
blarney.
was, yeah, because Pa guessed that he was full of crap.
Well, he
But
admitted it too, yeah.
yeah, and he admits, and
He
then
even
he's like, it's
admitted
probably
his
best if you
accent
leave.
was fake and his name was fake.
Yeah. And he's like, it's probably best that you leave, and I'll just tell the girls that you had to go. It's the way
Yeah.
of circus people.
Yeah. They just get up in the middle of the night. If they don't want to be here anymore, they just don't go because that doesn't give any abandonment issues to the girls. He
Yeah,
just didn't
absolutely
like
not.
you enough to not even say goodbye. He just went away. That's
But
what circus people do, especially Irish ones.
but Laura throws an absolute fit because she's like, you need Mr. O'Hara needs to come back and give Jack his special powders, his magic powders.
Yeah.
So they find him, and initially Dad or Pa's like, you need to tell her it's all fake. You need to tell her it's all fake. But he goes in and says, well, we'll just mix it up for him. And
Just a little bit.
just a little bit.
Just a
And they
dot.
do. And then he says, it's
Let me
up to
take my
God
booger rag
now.
out of my pocket, dip it in, and just rub it on the dog's nose.
Yeah. And well, now it's up to the Lord now if he survives or not.
Yeah, like blame God, thanks. Because
Yeah.
Laura hasn't had any issues with God already in this
No,
season.
it's not like, it's not like she has a personal relationship and God sends angels down to lead her
Talk
off
to her
mountains or
on a
anything like that.
mountain. Yeah, let's
But
do that.
anyway, the next morning Jack's fine. And Laura's like, it was your magic powders. And then he's got to come clean and say nothing about me is real.
But this time, so here's the thing about that scene that was irking me. Laura's wrapped up in a quilt, leaning against the sideboard, not down on the ground by Jack, because obviously the camera would have a hard time with
Yeah.
visibility. O'Hara is head down on the table like he's passed out drunk, and you can see his bald spot. Pa, not in the nightshirt.
He's like
Somehow
fully
it's more
clothed.
important that he stay on top of the bed fully clothed, as is Ma. Where's Mary? She's up in the bed. She's like,
Speaking,
so sorry,
where's
Jack.
Carrie?
And second point, where's Carrie? And I'm like,
I don't think
oh,
do
in
we see
fact,
Carrie at all?
yes.
Okay.
That point where the dog starts to wake up and everything like that was when I was like, hey, where's Mary? And it wasn't like Mary came downstairs. And then I was like, my God, we haven't seen Carrie at all this episode. Then after everybody's better, and now O'Hara's getting ready to leave for the second time and to say goodbye, that's when we see Carrie, is in the goodbye scene.
They
But can I
found her.
just tell you something funny? Well, I think I've told you several funny things,
Well,
hopefully,
yeah.
that made you laugh. But so you know that I sit down to watch these episodes right before we were going to record, so everything's all fresh in my mind. And Matt is under no obligation to watch them with me, but somehow he always ends up next to me with his chips and salsa, lying there, scrolling on his phone and looking up every once in a while. I mean, it's the classic skit that you see where like the husband's just like walking by and then all of a sudden he's sitting down. And so then the episode with Jack happens, and you know how soft-hearted my husband is. It's one of the things I love about him. But he's taking his chips and salsa up to the kitchen. He turns around. He's like, what the heck, dude? He's like, is this the same episode? Why you gotta mess with the dog? He's like, this isn't right. That poor dog didn't do nothing just to prove a point about this stupid circus guy. They gotta do that
Yes.
to him. And that's exactly
Yes.
it.
And the sad thing is, I think in a couple of seasons, we're going to have another episode that is almost beat for beat the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Only it's going to be a faith healer and not a circus man.
Now, the nice thing is that this time when Laura goes over there and totally O'Hara could be like, yes, I helped and all this stuff. By the way, he's obviously the creator of Alka-Seltzer, effervescence, salt, and sugar. Okay. So
I should have let him stay on the farm, man. They could have gotten in on
and
that.
also the introduction of the placebo effect, which this storyline is also covered in an episode of MASH when they realize that they've run out of a certain painkiller and aren't going to be able to give it. And they give half of the people placebo pill and half of the people the actual medicine they need. And you find out that like the ones that are worse off get the real medicine, and the ones that are and people literally feel better, not for any medical reason other than they have hope. It's not a sustainable thing, but sometimes it can help. So we get both of those things introduced, and he could have totally gotten away with it at that point, but he did the honorable thing because Pa shook his hand, which is why he came back and treated him like a human, didn't try to run him off. And he actually tells Laura that it was all just fake. So did that really make it better?
No, I don't know if it did.
But at least, and the only reason Pa went to get him was so that she wouldn't blame him if Jack died, because she would have believed that something could have happened. So he was trying to avoid years of resentment by having this guy come do his thing. And if the dog died, it would have proved the point. And if the dog didn't die, he still would have been a hero. So all Pa's trying to do is come out a hero out of this. Anyway, go ahead.
So this ultimately, I don't know if O'Hara learned anything.
I don't think the point was O'Hara learning anything.
It was Laura.
It was Laura, but again,
or the collective townspeople who seem to have lost their minds. I mean, is Lars Olsen going to, next time he wakes up with a migraine, go, "Oh my God, where's my magic
Hanson.
powders?"
Yeah, he only went on one date with Harriet. He never actually married her. Hanson. Not Olsen.
Hanson, not Nelson. Sorry. Lars. Lars Hanson. Nels Olsen.
Right, you said Lars Olsen.
Oh.
Rewind the videotape.
Lars oh, yes. She would have taken her name. She would have insisted.
It's so
the mercantile's already named Olsen.
I will say that when they did the makeup for Catherine McGregor, who plays Harriet, to have the appendicitis in bed, they really did a good job, because she visibly, when she was on her side facing the camera, she was visibly much paler, and the glycerin dots of sweat on her were amazing. In fact, I really feel like an Emmy needs to go to whoever's does all the sweat in the next couple episodes, because they clearly have a special skill set for it, and it's often needed in the Prairie. So
yes. The sweat placer in the Prairie is a very well used. They were busy this episode, and they've been busy this season. The sweat.
Yeah, the sweat duty. Whoever the sweat duty prop person is, kudos to them. Directed by Victor French. That's why we didn't see Mr. Edwards in this scene. He also directs the next episode. So sorry you couldn't play Mr. Edwards on the bingo card, but he was there.
No, I came close. I was lemon verbena away on this one.
So which card did you have?
I had number 1.
Okay.
I had someone gets hurt.
Yep.
Laura cries.
Yep.
Given 2024 unwoke moment, the use of the Irish stereotype. That whole, it bugs me whenever the show wants to do something with a con man, he has to fake an Irish accent or be Irish. Mom and Pa share a knowing look. They shared money.
Yes.
Wild animals attack. I'm counting
the bobcat.
The fake,
the fake bobcat. Yeah.
Frozen Mary, because Mary freezes a couple of times in this episode, and then an O Charles.
Okay. But now I didn't mark O Charles or unwoke moment on mine. I had card 21. On the top, definitely had nightcaps. We saw them several times. And then I also had the stereotype was one on my card as one of a square. So that's why I counted that.
Yeah, that one I didn't get.
So I did have a Ma cries. And so I did diagonal from the top B down to the O. So mine was the nightcaps, Mom cries, Free Jack, with Justice for Jack, because obviously he played a role in this one.
Yes.
And then Someone's Fever Breaks, because both Jack's fever broke
and Mrs. Oleson.
Mrs. Olson's, and then Wild Animals Attack. So that was my bingo. I also had Someone Gets Hurt. I also did the 1970s woke moment, just about, people lie to you sometimes, and you just have to know that. And the sharing the knowing look, and Laura eyes, and the thing. So I did not do the unwoke moment. I didn't do the Oh Charles. So let's talk a little bit about our guest. So it was Red Buttons. Red Buttons is from the 1950s. He's a well-known comic. He was also a well-known singer. He had his own TV series on when television first came around for 3 years. He won Emmys. He won Oscars. He often got nominations as the special guest on a series, although he never really had a long. And then he was in the Poseidon Adventure. He was definitely part of that. He was in a lot of things. So, and he actually lived till 2006. So he acted well beyond this, which is not the case of some of our people in the next episode. So he was well known. He would be on the same level as an Ernest Borgnine or some of the others that had appeared previously.
That's a very special guest star. You'll recognize him from 100,000 episodes guest star. This would be a very special guest star.
I mean, he's an award-winning actor and singer and performer, so he was well known. So that alone had clout for this episode. But he was never on Gunsmoke, and he was never on Bonanza, so you could not mark that on your bingo card.
That's amazing. I'm pretty astounded by that. But he would have had his own show at that point, and he would have been very much in the movies at that point too. So
yeah, he never had another big show that was his, but he did tons and tons of one-offs and guest appearances and roasts, and he did Broadway shows. So he was a very busy entertainer, not for lack of work. More of a movie guy, but he did do a lot of TV episodes as well.
Yeah, and no townspeople really go missing here. We're not introduced to any townspeople. He's basically, he's just driving through.
Yeah. So,
and he does not ever return either. So,
no. He was not a town folk. He was never a town folk. He was a circus person. So I did not count, even though it was on my bingo card as one of the options. Town folk disappears.
Yeah, he's
died. I did not mark that because he wasn't that. So
that's Circus Man.
That was Circus Man. So, enjoyable episode. It was a little episode. It was disjointed for Jack to get hurt in the middle of that. You really thought everything was kind of wrapped up with the Hanson. By the way, Hanson never addresses. We never have a scene. There's never a one-off comment made that he went back to see Doc Baker.
Yeah.
So
for all we know, he's still hunting down his Mr. O'Hara's magical powders.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, it was a fine episode. It does bug me with the show that whenever there's somebody who's going to pawn somebody or something, they're usually faking an Irish accent.
Oh, and you mentioned the whole thing about him not learning his lesson, and that was clear because when he went to say goodbye to Laura, he wiped the tear away and gave her an egg, which clearly he stole from Ma's coop again.
Yes. So yeah. He's going to go to the next town and sell his powders. He's going to go to the next town and sell his powders.
Yeah, maybe 2 towns away because his reputation would have preceded him. And Pa even says, well, feel free to come back sometime and visit.
But
even for all the trouble you caused.
Get out of town. Just don't come back.
Come steal more eggs. So.
Okay. And that's Circus Man. So until next time. See you on the prairie.
Thanks for listening to Two Woke Bonnets. To find out more and to download your bingo card, visit twowokebonnets.com. And don't forget to like and subscribe wherever fine video and audio podcasts are played.